All right. So this is the real estate, what do we call this? The mastery bonus room? Mastermind. Okay. Um, we are going to be talking about real estate and how to implement and leverage AI in real estate. And so I am going to turn things over to Kristi here. Kristi is our acquisitions director. She's the one that is spearheading everything with recruiting, training, managing our teams of virtual assistants and so on, and leveraging a lot of AI with that. And so Kristi is going to share some things that we do within the company, but then we also have some other folks in here that are really good at with AI in real estate as well. So Jake, who's one of our A3 members, is here. And then Rich, my business partner, mentioned Nick Perry is here. So there you go, Nick. So I'll have you guys come up in a bit and share some of what you guys are doing or what you have done also with AI, because I'm sure you guys will get a lot of value from that as well. So Kristi, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Dolmar. Thank you for coming, everybody. My name is Kristi Higa. I'm a real estate investor. I'm also Dolmar's acquisitions director. I started my career in 2018. I built a portfolio of over 100 units. I have wholesaled hundreds of deals over the years. And in 2020, I almost lost everything. So in 2020, I decided to have a baby. It wasn't COVID, it was getting pregnant. In February, I conceived my son. I was so sick. I was getting 5 migraines a week, and I wasn't capable of running my business. That's when I realized that I had a job. I didn't have a business. I didn't have the SOPs in place. I didn't have my systems in place, and I was the only person that could run everything. And so when everything almost fell apart, crashed, and burned, I recovered and I said, okay, I've got to get these systems dialed in. That's when I started to dig into AI. I started to learn everything I could about it, but it was overwhelming. There was too much stuff. There was way overload, and I didn't even know where to start with everything. Brian Hansen popped up on a random Zoom one day. I was totally engaged for 3 free hours with him. I got more value with him than I had in the last year of all the conferences that I had attended, and it was a no-brainer for me. I joined Real 360 the next week, and I started my journey into AI. And the biggest question for me, or the biggest aha moment, I should say, is when I had to look at what can AI do? And I said, well, it does too much. I need to look at what can AI do for me and my business. And this is when I started to make it real for me and my team. So we were wholesaling, and we were dealing with 30,000 to 40,000 leads a week. And it was taking my team 10 hours of formatting just to get through the process. And I thought to myself, how is it that I'm the one that has to help you with the formulas all the time? I've given you the prompt. It doesn't work for you. It always works for me. So then my time was being sucked down the tube, having to help my team with formatting spreadsheets. So once again, I was working in the business, not on the business. That's when I came up with an idea that if I just use AI, I can come up with a program that can format for me so that I don't have to do it, and they don't waste 10 hours a week. Now, the problem with my team being in the Philippines is that their internet is always going out. And so I wanted to build something that wasn't dependent on the internet, that could run independently, that would give us redundancy to where we did not have to depend on their website working or somebody's internet working. And that's when I came up with this list formatting program. I'll just show you kind of an example here. I know we have limited time. So I first started in JavaScript, and I'll tell you, I have no coding experience. I've never run a line of code in my life. I didn't even know what Visual Studio was. I told AI to walk me through the process in 3rd grade reading level so that I would be able to comprehend what the heck I was about to do to create these codes. Our first problem was that we'd have these lists, and it would be probably 40,000 leads inside of these lists, and I wanted to combine the duplicates, but I didn't want to lose all of the addresses. So if I go in and combine them now, I lose the whole line of data. I wanted to know where my portfolios were. I wanted to know who owned more than one property so that they could go directly to acquisitions and my cold callers weren't going to waste time talking to seasoned investors to where there's a lot bigger opportunity. And when they were manually doing this, they'd have to go through, find the duplicates, copy the addresses over. It was a huge headache. And when we took it into Visual Studio Code, it was as simple as opening up the folder, and then all I would have to do is come over here and run my prompt. So whatever your file name is, which I just learned how to do, I'm telling you, it was easy and it wasn't easy. It's gotten so much easier now. I'm just going to copy that file name, say node filename.js. Processing's complete. It does it that fast for 40,000, 50,000, 60,000 leads. There's no web dependency. And when I go to my output file now, everything's put together for me. So now I can go directly over to my additional properties. I can scroll down the list and I can see who's got portfolios inside of this lead list. So duplicate property, he's got more than one property. And then once we started to weed these down, we could find people that have the 10 properties, 20 properties, and they can immediately go over to acquisitions. We didn't waste our time manually having to do this. Now, ChatGPT can do similar things like this. And if you do use it in that sense, it takes a long time if you have a lot of data. And so then you have the limitation of how much time are you going to wait while it renders, or you're going to have to break it into smaller pieces of sheets in order to get the same results. And one thing that I found that when you're working with AI is that you really have to be specific about what you want. I was an Excel teacher for 10 years at the University of Alaska, and so it was really easy for me to talk to the computer because I knew what the language was that I wanted it to do. But where I found gold is when I went into GPT and I gave it my sheet, I gave it my instructions, and then I gave it an output of what I wanted it to look like. And as soon as I told it, this is what I want you to create, then my results became more consistent and I was able to create more programs like this for my team that save us time. And I guarantee if you own a business, there is something that your team does every day, routinely. It doesn't change. It's repetition, repetition, repetition. And when you look at those key pieces in your business and you say, what's slowing us down? What do we spend a lot of time on? And those are the things that you want to start to focus on that are going to save you time, they're going to save you money. And what can you do with 10 extra hours a week? Because I know what we did with them. So once we started to get into dialing in our programs, we started to create the SOPs for them. And I'm sure some of you know this, just in case some of you don't. If you haven't used Scribe, it's absolutely amazing. So at first, I was spending all of my time creating all of the SOPs, and it was a huge time suck. I'd have to go in there, write down what I wanted the process to look like, and then spend all my time putting this stuff together. But instead, I already had the team that was setting everything up. And so since my team was already running the program and they were already doing the work, I had them start to write the SOPs at the same time with Scribe. Sorry, my internet just quit working. Turn off Wi-Fi.
Dolmar, do you want to help her log in?
I'm not sure. But basically, you just want to free your time up. And so rather than me have to go through the process and walk through all of the steps, I would have my team make their own SOPs so that my training materials being made in live time, it's not me that has to do it. And now I'm working on the system and I'm not working in the business. And the more pieces that you can take off of your plate, the easier your life's going to be. And it was really hard for me at first to delegate because I was so used to working in the business. I had to learn how to step back and say, okay, you guys can do these things. I don't have to be the one that does it. And then that way I was able to utilize my time to work on the business. The value of the system really is the business. If you don't have the system, if it can't be replicated, if someone other than you can't do it, then you have a job. And so when I look at AI and I look at all these tools, and I'm looking at how to simplify my life, simplify my team's life, I think those are really the key pieces that somebody needs to look at, is what's going to make it easier for you? What's going to give you your life back? Why do you have to be the one that has to do it? So while Dolmar's going over that, there's also, I showed this last time, but in GPT, you can go into your voice mode and you can translate live. Now, we've used this with sales calls where somebody's speaking Spanish and we don't speak Spanish. And so you basically tell it, I want you to convert Spanish live, and then I want you to convert English to Spanish so that you can have a conversation back and forth. The other day, I was sitting in the nail salon, and the lady comes up to me, and I couldn't understand anything that she said to me. I just kind of smiled. What? I think I did that about 4 times. And then finally, she gets out Google Translate. She translates it for me, and she says, "Are you Japanese?" I said, "Yes." And she started speaking Japanese to me. So she was speaking Japanese to me the whole time. And then I thought, well, why have the limitation of just one language? So when I went into GPT, I told it, I want you to recognize whatever language is spoken to me. I want you to translate it into English, and then I want you to translate it back into the language that it was received in. And it worked beautifully. We tried it in Korean, we tried it in Japanese, we tried it in Spanish, and it didn't miss a beat. The only thing with that is that you have to make sure that you have a pause in between 2 people speaking, because it can get confused. And then we also found that we could train it to people's voices. So if we wanted it to listen to one person specifically, because there's a lot of people in the room, then you can prompt engineer it so that it has that ability to translate multiple languages at once. Thank you, Dolmar. So inside of Scribe, you basically just click on new, and you can choose if you're going to record your web page or you're going to record your desktop, and it records every single click that you do. And so if we're doing a training for the students in our community, and I want to make sure that I'm not the one answering their questions, I can have my VA go in, she just goes through the steps, she clicks, it records every single screenshot, it puts little circles on everything, and we can edit any of the text so that when somebody calls me, I don't have to be the one that answers the question. Now my VA is capable of being me in that aspect. And really, I think the SOPs are the biggest piece of everything. When somebody can just come in and you don't have to train them the way you are training now, and you can just give them a manual, you can just give them a book, and you can say, go through this, let me know if you have any questions. It makes everything so much easier than being the one that has to sit with them, that has to spend the time. We found with cold calling, when we very first started cold calling, we were the ones that were answering all of the questions. And so I would have to sit there, I would have to role play, I would have to give feedback, it would hurt somebody's feelings, and now I'm the bad guy in a situation. And so what we did is we built a custom GPT to where we took all of our scripts, we uploaded them into GPT, and we gave it custom instructions so that now not only can my cold callers practice with GPT, takes me out of the equation, GPT is probably better at acquisitions than I am. The way that it's able to handle any kind of objection or anything that comes up. We also have different levels of training that we can work with it. So if somebody comes in and they've never cold called before, they can say, this is my first time. And then that way it goes to the skill level. It starts with, what are you comfortable with? It'll test, what can you do? It'll run through different scenarios of angry seller. It'll say, are we talking to buyers? Are we talking to sellers? Who's our target? And then that way I'm able to train my cold callers. At the same time, it's running KPIs on the cold callers. It's rating how they're doing, and it's giving them feedback live on what they can do better to improve. It's a lot easier to get feedback from a computer than it is from your boss. And so we have feelings that are saved, their productivity is being made. I am not the one that has to do it, which is the most beautiful piece of all of it. All of these things are meant to save you time. And when you just look and you say, where can I save time? Like for me, I like to write on pen and paper, and every single project that I've ever created is started on my whiteboard in my office. Everything from start to end is on that whiteboard. And the best part is that I can take a picture of the whiteboard, upload it into GPT, it translates it for me, puts my chicken scratch I can barely read into something I can now make sense of. Then I can take it over to the computer and I can share my ideas with other people that are on my team. Same thing with paper. If I'm in a conference like this, I don't sit and write note after note after note. I write key points of things that I want to remember. I record what's happening in the conference. I load it into GPT. I transcribe it, and then I say, fill in the important keynotes so that my focus isn't on paper, losing half of what's happening in front of me. I can just focus on the information that I want to retain by my few keywords as I'm going through the presentation. I do the same thing with my contractors. I used to spend hours and hours creating scopes of work. It was one of my superpowers. And now I record the conversation as I'm walking through with the contractor. I transcribe it. I upload it into AI, and then I tell it, make my scope of work. Now, if you have a previous scope of work that you've created, and it already has the price points that you've been working with, you can upload that as well and say, let's get all our prices in. So now it's just saved you the time of your list of everything that you have to do. It's filled in all the price points of what it's going to cost you to run that project. And when you have real-time data of multiple scopes, multiple projects you've already done, it's able to start analyzing you and what you're doing so that it can be an extension of you. So then now Kristi's not spending time writing scopes of work. She's not spending time analyzing the price of square footage for flooring. It's already in there. You can make it as custom to you as you want to, or as generic as you want to. And either way, it's still going to work the same way. We also use it for our repair estimates. And so I can take our photos. I can take photos of a project, upload them into the GPT, and then I can tell it I want a repair estimate. So it's able to break it down, give me a scope of work by photos, and then give me a cost estimate of what that project's going to cost. There's so many different ways in real estate that you can simplify your life with this. And when I first started, I just remember how many hours it took me, how many conversations it took me, how many contractors I had to talk to because I didn't have that construction knowledge to build on. And so, like I said before, it's just looking at that piece of what can it do for me? How can I simplify for me? When I lost my best worker, I had to do her job. I had replaced her with AI in 1 week because I guarantee if I have to do your job and I don't like it, I'm going to find some way that it's not going to be me that has to do it. And what I found was when I had to do the reports, I screw things up in reports. I'm not good at them. I should probably never do them. So I created our property analysis report to where I can come in here now and say, okay, well, here's the address. fill in info from Zillow, including property tax and square footage. Then I can put my ARV in. I can put my renovations in. Send it over to GPT. It analyzes it. It's pulling the information that I need off of the internet. It's filling in everything for my sheet. And now I'm going to tell it, fill sheet. I have my spreadsheet already uploaded into this GPT. So anybody on my team can use this. Nobody is going to screw up my data. And I'm going to be able to get a deal analysis in minutes versus the time it would actually take me to plug in these numbers manually. And so what I found is that I kept screwing up on forgetting to update the address. So I'd send Dolmar a report and he'd be like, this isn't the right thing. I'm like, well, the numbers are right. It's just not the right address. And after I did that 3 times, for me, if I make an error 3 times, I'm going to find a better way to do it because what I'm doing isn't working and I'm not conscientious enough that I'm going to remember to do that if the same mistake keeps happening. Same thing with my team. If they keep making the same mistakes over and over, it means that they need a little bit more guidance. And that's where I look at the computer and say, how can I make their lives easier? And not just in real estate, but for saving time with my family. My family is a royal time suck for me. I love them, but my mom and dad call me all day long for little things on the computer that I have to sit down and do when I have other things that need to be done. And so my dad, he has a thing with Suno, and I know some of you guys are using Suno. What I've found is that Suno's like GPT. It has the generic version to where everything has an M dash and it all sounds the same. And so I wrote my dad a custom prompt in Suno that he can come in here. He can upload his transcriptions because he writes his songs by hand. He doesn't use AI to do it. And so once he selects his songs, he can come in here, tell it to transcribe. He can put keynote signatures in here if he wants to, or he can say, I want this to be like Garth Brooks. I want this to be like Whitney Houston, or specifically, this is the song that I want you to break down what the key signature is. I want you to break down the timing, and then I want you to recreate it based off of this key signature, this timing, and it gives you a prompt to copy into Suno 1,000 characters or less.
Awesome. Thank you, Kristi. Give it up for Kristi.
That's a wrap for this episode of the AI for Business podcast. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit subscribe and pass it along to a friend or colleague. We appreciate you being here, and we'll catch you in the next one.